This is a Nicholas Sparks romance novel. I was warned in advance that Sparks writes overly emotional stuff, but it still caught me off guard, and I started crying openly while watching Sesame Street the day I finished this book. Thanks, Nicholas.
Argofont Book Review, Argofont Book Review.
This review was commissioned through Patreon, but if you want to commission me to read sad romance novels, maybe you should keep your money. Our narrator is Landon Carter, a 17-year-old in 1950s North Carolina. Landon's father is a long-serving congressman, and their family has a minor feud going on with the local Baptist priest, Jamie Sullivan. Hegbert is so religious-minded that he hates Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. A play with ghosts in it? That's for heathens! So Hegbert has written his own play called The Christmas Angel, where an angel helps a single parent realize the importance of fatherhood. The play is performed by high school seniors every year. This year, the leading role is going to Hegbert's daughter, Jamie. Landon knows Jamie, but not well. She's plain-looking and dresses like an old lady. She carries a Bible everywhere. He finds it annoying how she's always talking about the Lord's plan, and she's so darn cheerful no matter what. Landon says he doesn't like her. Multiple times he says this, but this is a romance novel. I know where this is going. Landon needs a date for homecoming because he's the class president. He starts to panic when he can't find anyone. He goes through a yearbook and decides to ask Jamie. She's weird, but she's better than nothing. She says she'd love to go with him to homecoming, but she makes him promise not to fall in love with her. That sounds like reverse psychology to me. Hegbert grills Landon over his intentions, and the dance is a disaster. Landon's ex-girlfriend shows up drunk and throws up everywhere. Her new boyfriend tries to beat Landon up. Jamie stops the fight and helps Landon clean up the vomit. He is amazed that she's still happy and positive after all of this. Ooh, very odd. Jamie asks Landon to be the male lead in the play. He doesn't like the idea of being with her every day for a month, but she guilt-trips him into doing it. After all, she helped him clean up the vomit. The play is super important to her father. He wrote it after his wife died. And Jamie promises to pray for Landon no matter what. He basically doesn't have a choice but to go along with it. Landon doesn't bother to learn his part until Jamie embarrasses him in front of his friends. They start walking home together every day, and they slowly bond as time goes on, because she's got a dead mother. That's sort of like him having an absentee father. The day of the last rehearsal is a disaster. Landon's hurt, he misses lunch, and he messes up all of his lines. He blows up at Jamie when they're walking home. He says mean things about her and her father, but she's still nice to him afterwards. He feels guilty for being such a jerk, and he apologizes. Romance time! In the play, when Landon's character first sees the angel, he says, "You're beautiful." He's never gotten that line correct in rehearsals. But when he sees her in her wonderful costume for the first time, she looks just like a real angel. So when he tells her, "You're beautiful," he means it from his heart. Aww. There are money jars all over town which accept donations for the orphanage. Jamie asks Landon to gather them up so they can give the orphans a nice Christmas party. When he sees they didn't collect much money, he puts in an extra $200. Jamie is so happy, and they have the best Christmas ever. That's when he realizes he's in love with her. They hold hands and kiss. He says he'll remember their kiss forever. Gosh, I can't remember my first kiss with my wife. Either I'm forgetful or unromantic. They go on several dates. He says he loves her no matter what other people think about her. Jamie cries and apologizes because he can't love her. She's dying. Oh, this is one of those romance books. Jamie was diagnosed with terminal leukemia before the book started. That's why she was so insistent on having a great play for her dad and a great Christmas for the orphans. The remaining 50 pages are a drawn-out death scene. Everybody cries a lot. Landon agonizes over what he can do. He can't do anything! The woman he loves is dying, and he can't do anything! He starts reading the Bible with Jamie, and she continues to be the most wonderful person ever, even in the face of death. Eventually, Landon realizes he wants to marry her before she dies. They live out her dream of a big wedding and a church full of people. She temporarily leaves her wheelchair to walk down the aisle by herself. It's a walk to remember. Landon feels so proud and blessed. 40 years later, Landon still loves Jamie. He now believes miracles can happen. The end. Post-book follow-up. The author says the ending is deliberately ambiguous because if he killed Jamie for real, there would be an angry mob at his doorstep. I'm tired of crying, so I'm going to pretend she's still alive and they're living happily together. I like the book. I thought it was unique to have a male narrator for a romance novel. At least I haven't seen any male narrators in the romance novels I've read before. This is probably a nerdy compliment, but the book structure is awesome. The narration and pacing are super smooth, and Landon makes some funny snide remarks. I noticed that Landon uses the phrase, "if you know what I mean," 7 times in the first half of the book. I didn't exactly enjoy it, if you know what I mean. The main complaint against this book is that it's derivative. It's just like other books that the author wrote. He's clearly using a formula. I haven't read anything else by the author, so this did not bother me in the slightest. I found the book to be fresh and new. I suppose one downside of the book is that it relies almost entirely on Jamie. If you don't like her, then you won't like the book. I liked her, but even I got a little annoyed a bit at the end when the characters went overboard in singing her praises. They practically canonized her. I know Landon is an unreliable narrator when it comes to Jamie at this point, but I can see why some people would complain the author is purposely manipulating readers' emotions. You can also see Jamie as a master manipulator. She gets Landon to fulfill all of her wishes before she dies. Granted, most of her wishes are selfless, but there is an awful lot of Jamie not telling Landon the truth in order to seek her own ends. He's too much in love to see that she's playing him like a harp. I think it speaks to the strength of the writing that you can see the story from multiple perspectives. I like the book. I give A Walk to Remember a 9 out of 10. People say that when you're reading a romance novel, you should pretend that you're the narrator, so I got to pretend that I was a cool guy who falls in love with the most wonderful woman in the world. It's so magical. Oh.